I got an email yesterday from a listener, Paul, who joins us now. Hello, Paul.
Hello, John.
Terrible thing that happened to you and your wife. I know the broad strokes because you put them in your email to me. But talk us through what happened to you over the weekend.
Sure. We went for a hike around Lion's Head, which we do quite frequently and have done so for many years. And when we were walking back down the path towards Camps Bay Glen, we saw three people approaching us from behind. There was one adult and two much younger children.
And what sort of age, Paul, would you estimate the youngsters to be? Mid-teens or younger than that?
No, I would say 12 years old, and the adult, I would say about 21 or so.
Okay.
Yeah, so they asked us for food, and they indicated to us that they were hungry. But it was a very obvious strategy that they were separating myself and my wife. And then all of a sudden, without any warning, they pulled out knives and literally attacked us. So I think this is quite different from the other issues that we've seen on the mountain, in which people are using knives and demanding cell phones and food, and that they just attacked literally without any warning.
You said what? We don't have any money, we don't have any food, we're not able to help you, and then they attacked perhaps in response to your, or did you think that they weren't really serious about hoping to get a 10 Rand note from you?
No, I think that their intention right from the beginning was to attack. Their request in money or food was merely to separate us, that we could not, in inverted commas, fight back as a couple. But there was certainly no intention of demanding or waiting for us to take out our wallets, etc.
And you said all three, so even the youngsters, who you estimate to be about 12 years old, they also pulled out knives and joined in the stabbing.
Yes, certainly. The two attacked my wife. She ended up on her back trying to fight them off. She ended up having knife slashes onto her cheek and her lips. I will say that they were superficial, but 1 inch further deeper would have been quite terrible. She also was stabbed in her tummy, but also probably only penetrated a centimeter or so. The older adult lunged at me with a knife. I tried to fight him off. And in that process of him lunging, I took a couple of steps back and tripped, and my head landed on a rock, and I got concussed. And at that point, I think that they turned and ran after having grabbed my wife's cell phone off her.
And then you write to me also, because there's this terrible thing that happened to you, and I listen to you and I hear myself when I was attacked while changing a car tire at night a couple of months ago. I heard myself saying, well, it could have been worse, and you're saying it could have been worse, and it could have. Your wife, the stab in the tummy could have been deeper and cut something important. The ones on the face could have been extremely disfiguring. And we instead of railing against the horror of what happened, we go, oh, well, it could have been worse. And it could have, but it shouldn't have happened. It did happen. And then the aftermath. You also wrote to me about the aftermath and how disappointed you were that people and institutions that should have behaved in a way didn't behave in that way.
Yes, certainly. We were screaming for help, and I think in response there were other hikers further up the mountain on Sunday at midday. There's a lot of people on the island. On the hill, and we then made our way down to the park, where we found a car from Sand Parks with 4 officials sitting in the car talking to each other. You could still quite clearly hear the other screams on the mountainside, but they obviously couldn't, because they were sitting, talking on their phones, talking to each other, listening to music. I don't know. When we did ask for assistance, they did very quickly react, but they should never have had to do that if all 4 of them were patrolling the area and listening for any screams, etc.
If they'd been alert, if they had been paying attention, then yes, they would have responded the minute the scream started, or you would have hoped they would respond the minute the scream started. So there's that. What else about what happened in the aftermath of the attack disappointed you, Paul?
Well, CCID were alerted, and at that stage we thought it quite important to go and report it to the police, which was a real ordeal in itself, after waiting for 5 or 6 minutes, and finally got their attention. I was disappointed that after telling them the story, they didn't rush up to the scene to find out if they could still apprehend anybody, to find out whether they could track the phone. And they didn't really even take a statement. In fact, they didn't take a statement. They told us somebody would approach us the next day.
Did that happen? Has that happened?
Well, it didn't, but my wife did get a formal statement and opened a case at about 1:00 this afternoon.
So you'd think that, sorry to interrupt, Paul, you'd think they'd want a description of the 3. A man 21, 2 young boys aged 12. That might cover a lot of people who are hiking on the mountain and hiking there with no criminal intent. So you'd think that the very first thing they would want from you and your wife is a description of your attackers, so they could circulate that.
Sure, but that description would have taken a minute. Yeah.
And so I interrupted you.
Okay, my other disappointment was that there was absolutely no coordination between SAPS, Sand Parks, or CCIA or PPA. Well, you would expect with 4 different agencies that they would be talking to each other in the midst of these terrible attacks.
How are you and your wife? I mean, obviously this is immensely traumatizing. She was well enough to go to the police station and lay a charge, and you are well enough to talk to us, although the emotion in your voice is obvious. So, physically you're up and about, but how are you?
We are physically fine. I can tell you my wife last night locked the bedroom door. We will probably take some time before we go up in the mountain again. But yes, it is very traumatizing, and if that can happen on a Sunday on a very, very well-known path with lots of people around, it's very concerning. Do you not now walk on the mountain and enjoy yourself in the city during the course of the week, early in the morning, later in the afternoon? There's many cyclists and other people hiking over the weekend, but less during the week.
Well, I hope it's helped a little being able to tell your story publicly like this. What we will do is we will send a recording of the conversation that you and I have just had. We'll send it to the various authorities and see what, if any, response we get from them, share that with the listeners and share that with you privately.
We have very aggressively ourselves approached all those organizations, and I must say that at higher levels they have spoken to us very positively, but frankly 24 hours too late.
Paul, again, I'm really sorry that this happened to you and your wife. I'm delighted that you survived, and I hope that you managed to get over the kind of impulse that has you locking your bedroom door at night.